And we're back. And it's now part 3 of this week's New Comics Bitches. So, let's go on to our picks of the week. Obviously, they're all from Marvel. But I would hasten to add that maybe Bionic Man would have been part of this, but there were just 3 more comics that hit me on more of a gut level. And I know what you're saying. You want to hit me on a gut level. Yeah, shut up. Anyway, so Moon Knight number 10. Wow. For those of you who aren't caught up yet, yes, Echo is dead. I didn't think that Bendis would go there, but he did, and I think made the right call, ultimately. Of course, now this whole thing about, the whole aftermath of Echo being dead has flown Mark Spector into this berserker rage where he pops out his, Wolverine claws and starts to go to work on Count Nefaria. Now we've got, and then of course we have conversations with Marlene, brief conversations, moments between Mark and Marlene, and with Frenchie, and with Cap, and ultimately with Wolverine. Mark has some bad times ahead of him, and this is just kind of the beginning. But basically, kind of ends up in the hospital. He's broken out by Buck, the intrepid former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, who's just a really cool supporting character. And we have the introduction of Madame Mask, of Whitney Frost being kind of reintroduced to the Marvel Universe. Not reintroduced per se, but I mean just she, welcome back is what I have to say. Welcome back to kind of, our continuity and just becoming a relevant character again. Now, something that I knew but I forgot was that she's actually the daughter of Count Nefaria. So she has kind of a vested interest in what's going on, but whether it's pro Count Nefaria or anti Count Nefaria, we don't really know yet, and that's part of what's so compelling about this particular issue. Just the activity in and of itself, because there are spurts of action. They're very brief, but they are extremely important. Like I said, this introduction of this this wild card onto the playing field of Madame Mask, it really does create this whole much bigger situation for for Mark Spector, and of course with the loss of Echo and the need to ultimately kind of avenge her death and save Los Angeles, because everybody's busy over in New York. So Moon Knight's the guy. He's on, for better or for worse, he is the go-to guy. I'm gonna miss him in Secret Avengers, and I'm really going to miss this comic. But, this is it. Bendis really writes the hell out of it. Maleev draws the hell out of it. A terrific grade A issue. It's a 4.5 out of 5. Easy. Just terrific. Again, we have Bendis in our next pick of the week, and that is, of course, the New Avengers number 22. Now, basically, we have kind of the more fallout from the fight between the New Avengers and the Dark Avengers, and of course Ragnarok, and the U.S. government is basically ready to seize, Avengers Mansion, and they've even put on their kind of Halo-esque Cape Killer uniforms that they were wearing during this, these agents that they were wearing during the Civil War. Civil War, not the Civil War. But, we've got a whole lot of people, in a whole lot of different situations, very, Victoria Hand, Osborn doing his whole own thing. We don't know what he's up to. The members of the Dark Avengers, Gorgon, Madam Hydra. uh, you know, you know, all of them have, and all of them are used to their, to their extent, to what their characters would do. That's one of the really significant things that Bendis does with this particular title. Not so much on some of the other titles, but on this particular title, he utilizes each of the members to a very specific degree and makes it really potent, really interesting, and not, this certainly is a kind of almost a calming breath from the previous issue, from the previous two issues, because they were big, big battles, and that was really, really fun to read, and to absorb Mike Deodato's fantastic art. I just can't say enough good things about his work. But just Bendis really on the ball here with this title. It's just rolling along perfectly well. I'm not going to spoil the ending, because the ending is really, releases the whole bag of tricks. Well, I shouldn't say not the whole bag of tricks, because there is definitely something else going on here that we were really not aware of. I won't even, like I said, I'm not going to give it away, but it's so awesome. I mean, it really was. It was like, oh man, this is cool. So, I'm just really, really looking forward to where this is going from here. Very much a 4.5, solid 4.5, leaning more towards 5. This is, like I said, it's a fantastic issue. But ultimately, pick of the week, and this was a disappointment the last time. Well, not a disappointment, but but this issue really picks it up and gets back right on track, and that is Amazing Spider-Man number 680. What an issue. Dan Slott, Chris Yost, co-writing. We've got Giuseppe Camicoli doing the pencils. We've got Klaus Janson doing the inks. Now these guys were doing the Vulture arc together, at least artistically. And again, it's about characters. It's about knowing your characters, knowing who they are. Dan Slott is a genius at knowing everybody that's in the that's in the Spider-Man universe, particularly people like Jonah Jameson, like John Jameson that we see in this issue, and somebody that is ultimately very, very important to Peter Parker / Spider-Man as a hero and just as a person, and that's of course Johnny Storm. And we are reintroduced to him via this very Risky Business-esque moment, but in a much funnier way than is presented in that film. Just thinking about it does make me laugh, although it pisses me off at Dan Slott and Chris Yost. They decided to use the song that, basically the song that he's singing rather than Bob Seger's Old Time Rock and Roll is Rebecca Black's Friday. And now, when you see the lyrics, you can't get the fucking song out of your head, so it just kind of drives you insane. But, still a very funny, very Johnny Storm moment. And this, it's when they're basically, one of the things that's so wonderful about and one of the reasons that I'm glad that Johnny's back is because Spidey and Johnny they're so close as people that I think they see a lot of each other in themselves. And Slott really knows this character very well and knows that, whenever they're on an adventure together, it's kind of like Hope and Crosby. They kind of go on these road missions, and this is, not quite a road mission. It's actually a mission to space to help save the Apogee station. And, you know, of course, the action now, this is, I'm assuming, is going to lead to Ends of the Earth story arc that is being touted right now as far as the next kind of step, the big arc of Spider-Man. And I can't wait. You know, if it continues with this level of enthusiasm, with this level of action, with this level of just wit and charm and just grace, then this is going to be a huge, tremendous, great arc. Again, you know, Spider Island was the best event comic of last year. You can't beat it. Because it was ultimately kind of a it was pretty much a self-contained event, but, you know, it did have some offshoots, of course, but it was so much more effective and wildly more successful from a storytelling standpoint than either Fear itself or Flashpoint, although I'm sure that Flashpoint sold better, and Fear itself probably sold better because they were universe-wide sweeping. Neither of them amounted to much as far, like I said, from a storytelling standpoint. Even Flashpoint didn't really do a lot to reintroduce, you know, to count everything down back to issue 1, as far as the 52 comics that there are, and condensing them all into one Earth. You know, problems about that are, you know, of course, looming large, and of course they're starting into their crossovers now, as far as the DC universe is concerned. But just, you know, everything that's going on here with the Secret Six doing what they're doing, you know, the Octobots, you know, Dr. Octopus, I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember exactly how he kind of wound up this way. I do kind of need to go back into my back issues of Spidey to kind of reacquaint myself with that. Because if it happened during Dan Slott's run, I'll gladly go back and reread it, or find the, you know, the trades or whatever that's necessary to get me caught up. So, because I did just start kind of reading this on a whim. I just kind of started picking it back up on a whim, because I had heard about how good it was. So, and it has been superb. So, easy 5 out of 5 for Spidey 680. I just hope they don't, you know, in less than 20 months from now, I just hope they don't go back to saying, oh, well, you know, like what DC did, and say, well, we're actually going to reduce this back down to number 1 again. Because, you know, with the Marvel Universe, you know, the big, you know, whatever comes out of the Avengers versus X-Men, if it is indeed the return of Phoenix and kind of setting everything back to square one, I'm really scared about that, because I appreciate the marketing idea behind that, but I don't know if. But, you know, again, whereas DC only has 1 or 2 people that they can really go to create an event comic, you know, they have, Marvel really has this brain trust of people like Bendis and Brubaker and Jason Aaron and Matt Fraction and, you know, Rick Remender. I mean, these are people who really know what the hell they're doing. So I'm much more looking forward to that than I am anything that DC may have coming up, unless it's about the comics that I've really been digging. But I don't see a big event comic coming out of DC anytime soon, and I hope that actually lasts for a little while, because DC doesn't need it right now. They are very much, you know, as far as volume sales are concerned, they're very much on top. So, and I think more people are ultimately talking about DC than they are about Marvel. So, anyway, so that is it for this week at the Shadow Gallery. Again, follow me. I'm at Donnelly92274 on Twitter. James Donnelly over on Facebook, Tumblr, the Shadow Gallery Comics.tumblr.com. When my hand finally gets out of this, I'll probably start typing on that again. So stay tuned if you do want to watch my review of Justice League Doom, but otherwise, if you don't, that's it for this week from the Shadow Gallery. Until next time, this is James Donnelly saying Have a good one.